Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. Today I have with me a very talented person, Denise Simon. She is an acting coach, and she's been an actor, director, casting director, you name it, she's done it all in the business, and right now she coaches a lot of young aspiring actors. So please join me in welcoming Denise Simon.
Thank you,
Denise,
Usha.
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm very excited to have you here because children are finishing up their school year, and in summer they might all be wondering what they want to be doing for summer, and talk about what they want to be when they grow up, and with their parents might start acting on their acting bug or becoming a superstar bug. But before we get into that topic, I'd like to get a little bit of personal information about you. You live in Westchester?
I do, Westchester County, on the Ridgefield-Fairfield, Connecticut border.
And you work in the Westchester and New York City areas?
I do. I have studios in both.
And you have what studios?
Well, I teach in Westchester County private coaching, group classes, and workshops, which I actually take on the road. But I'm based out of Westchester, and I also have facilities in Midtown Manhattan, as many of my clients on Broadway, television, and film actually live in the city and nearby. So
yeah, this is the first time we have somebody from your field on this show. So it's going to be very special and the first. How did you get into this field? Were you an aspiring actor at the time?
I was. From a very young age. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to act. And I see it with so many of the children that if it's really coming from them, you see it at a very young age when they're very, very little, how they act in public and what they say to their parents. And I always knew I wanted to be on Broadway or in the movies, and I was the one dragging my parents in that room from a very young age, and told my parents I wanted to be an actress. It was one of the first movies I remember seeing was The Sound of Music, and I wanted to be Julie Andrews. And
yes.
I would
Not one of those kids.
No, I was going to be Julie Andrews. And I rehearsed in my bedroom, and I knew every song, and this is all I did. And my parents, they were great. They were supportive, and took me to classes and voice lessons and dance lessons and acting classes.
So you did have your formal voice lessons and dance lessons.
I did. And
is that very essential to be an actor?
It's completely essential. So, with kids, we're looking for a real natural ability, and there are kids that just have it. There are adults that just have it, right? The it factor. But in order to really be successful, you need, just like anything, to continue to train and study and hone your skills.
When you were young, did you grow up with siblings?
I have 3 younger brothers, and they laughed at me, thinking, yeah, you're really going to be an actress. You're really going to be famous. That's never going to happen. And they all poo-pooed it.
Oh, didn't they join you in putting up home plays?
No, I have 3 younger brothers, so they were pretty sporty. So I was the only artist and real black sheep in my family.
See, growing up, my young sister and I used to put up little shows when my cousins came over. And then we'd all quickly get some script together and then act it out for the parents. We'll have these sheets put up like screens.
Right, because you had, right. And
we had all the time. In summer, we didn't have the video games and TV in those days.
That's right. And here you are now on your own talk show.
Yes. Right. This I've been doing for over 5 years now. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy having as guests all kinds of talented people. And so today is one of those days.
So I did pursue it as a child, and my parents were supportive, but it was limiting. I had actually moved from New York to Florida, and not being in a big city, it was a little limiting in what I was able to pursue, right? So I could go out for some local TV commercials and things like that, but really couldn't pursue Broadway or television and film living outside of a big city. And that comes up a lot in conversation. If somebody lives outside of a big city, how can they get involved? And there really are so many ways to do that, because you don't always have to just do it professionally. But we're probably here to talk about today if a child really wants to make it in the business or pursue it as a profession, what to do.
Yes. So you were naturally inclined to acting, and then when you grew up, was that all you did right from the beginning?
Well, I did.
You were an actor?
I did. I went to college and studied theater.
What was your name as an actor?
Denise Denaire.
I see.
It was a good stage name.
Very nice name.
So I went to college to pursue.
It has a flair.
I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts at Florida State, which is still one of the top theater programs. I do a lot of work with coaching kids entering college and applying for theater and musical theater. It's very, very competitive, and it's a big part of my business.
Yeah, you have been in this business for 30 years or more, and you must have a ton of experience in this field.
I do.
So I want to know, when parents come to you or young adults come to you for help, I want to know, what are they thinking? What's the first thing they say to you? What do they want to be?
Well, so in addition to training actors, I have a consulting and coaching business as well. And actors, parents will come to me wanting to know if their child has what it takes, and if they do, how they can get started. So in addition to training actors, I will consult with families and let them know, in my personal opinion, if they have what it takes. And remember, it's just a personal opinion. But I have been in the industry for a very long time as on many different sides of the business. And for 10 years, I managed child actors. I was responsible for the careers of Scarlett Johansson, Mira Sorvino, Judy Reyes on the Scrubs, Lacey Chabert, who was on the show Party of Five, and in the movie Mean Girls.
And how young were they at the time?
Well, Scarlett was 8 when we found her.
I see.
And
so she's been doing this for a long time.
Very long time, right.
What was her first acting gig?
The Horse Whisperer was one of her first big movies. She had done a smaller movie right before that called Manny and Lowe, and The Horse Whisperer was her first.
But that was a good one.
It was a good one,
Yeah,
and she went on
really
to continue to do
got
good ones. I went to visit her
recognition.
recently backstage, and we had shared a few wonderful moments of how it all began when she was young, and she probably became our biggest star out of all the clients that I managed. So managing actors for 10 years.
And Mira
Sorvino also, and won an Academy Award while we handled her. We had wonderful.
And how old was she when she joined?
Mira started a little later. She was in her teens.
Was she in the acting coaching class, or was she
She was
just
a client of mine.
Client, so
right,
talent management.
That's right, in the management. So when I had moved to New York to pursue my own acting career, as a day job, in addition to waiting tables, I taught classes to kids because I always loved working with kids from the time I was very young. So I taught children's acting classes during the day, and then in the summers I worked at some of the theater camps, Stage Door Manor, Long Lake, and French Woods Performing Arts. I didn't work at French Woods. I worked at Long Lake and Stage Door Manor. Had other family members that worked at French Woods. And in the summertime, directed and taught classes. And that's how I met the woman who owned the management company, Jean Fox.
Oh, I see.
And was discovered there, not as an actress, but as a talent manager. And for 10 years, I really didn't know what I was getting into, and it was pretty spectacular to see what happened with the clients. And after that, I had my own children, so I have 2 kids of my own. And when they were babies, it was very, very difficult to manage careers of an Academy Award-winning actress. I was flying back and forth to LA with my baby. It was just a little too much for me. And so I decided to leave management and raise my kids. And while I did that, I opened up my own coaching so that I could make my own hours and be a mom and still coach and work with actors. And then as my kids grew up, and they're now 17 and 21, it's enabled me to go back full-time into the coaching, but more recently build up the consulting part of the business, being that I've been on so many ends of it.
So Denise, when you were acting, what type of, did you act in movies or
I did
TV?
I did mostly theater.
Theater?
I did.
And that was in New York?
I did mostly, summer stock theater, some regional theater. I worked with Burt Reynolds.
Off-Broadway?
Off-Broadway.
Off-Broadway, okay.
I never made it close. After college, I was an apprentice at the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater in Jupiter, Florida. And that was really a year of really training and studying under Charles Nelson Riley and Burt Reynolds and all of his colleagues. And it was an amazing year to work with actors like Martin Sheen and Charles Durning, Ned Beatty, Dom DeLuise, and just watching.
What was it like working with them?
It was
watching and learning.
It was the most remarkable year of my life. I was just out of college, still very young, apprenticing, getting my Actors Equity card.
What is that?
The union. So there are unions, and
how long do you have to be there to get the?
Well, there are 3 ways to get into the union, right? You can get hired in a union production. You can get something called points, equity membership candidate points, or you can get in through another union. And by apprenticing for that year, I was able to earn points to join the union.
I see.
I recently wrote an article. I'm a writer for Backstage Magazine, which is the trade magazine nationwide.
Yeah, I saw some of the articles there and expert advices there.
Right.
I was going to
I am the kids
bring
expert.
that up during our conversation today.
Well, the reason I just brought it up was I wrote an article recently about unions and maybe
and whether child actors should join that or not.
Exactly, and we can touch on that later if you'd like, on why it's a good idea to wait and not join the union. But I did join the union, apprenticing that year. But the most remarkable thing about that year, and what I learned so much, was just sitting backstage watching really gifted actors at work and how they worked on their craft and how they prepared, and that was just to be in the presence of these actors and watch how they do what they do.
I've noticed that even movie actors who kind of started off with movies always came back to stage, and they want to just improve their acting skills by going on stage productions. Right? And they want to learn that, and they want to live that and experience that to be a better actor.
Well, it's a whole different ballgame. I can't say it makes them a better actor, but it's live and it's every night, and so it is a whole different experience. And it's everybody's dream, I think, to do live theater and to be on Broadway. And these days, that's who you see on Broadway, right? Our film and television actors who actually sell the tickets, but everybody wants to be on Broadway.
Getting back to one of the first questions I asked, when I asked you one question, it was like a string of questions. One was that, what is the first thing someone wants to be when they come to you? Well, they want to be a superstar, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. They want to be, well, not everybody wants to be a superstar, right? So some of them want to be a superstar. Some of them want to be actually a recording artist. Many of them want to be on Broadway and just want to work, right?
Okay.
And then
so you have all these categories: those who just want to work, those who want to be on Broadway.
That's right. Those who want to be famous.
Those who want to do recording work.
So we have to.
And then you have the ones who want to be superstars.
Yeah, and we have to nip that one in the bud right away, right? Because how often does that really happen?
So what is the problem with that dream?
Well, it's just a dream. So I'm not sure that they really know what it takes, and really what it takes it's where luck, talent, and opportunity all meet. So you have to work hard and train.
So that's what you tell them.
And there's
first.
the work, right? Then you need opportunity, being in the right place at the right time, and then there's just luck.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. Just luck.
Being somewhere at the right time, right place.
Yeah, but really, you need to have the talent. It's the skill and the talent. You can have a look, and that can get you in the door, but it's the skill and the talent, that's going to keep you working.
And that is where a coach comes in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Where their natural talents can be honed and polished.
Exactly, and it's the natural talent that everybody's looking for. And so coaching you have to be really careful with coaching. And I'm recommended because I don't overcoach, and I coach kids to look not coached. And so when I work with kids, I am drawing out their own natural abilities, and I'm helping kids direct themselves. So when a child asks me, how do I say a line? I will never, ever give them that answer. I'll actually have them reframe the question. Why do I say it? What do I want? But I can't tell anybody how to say anything or how to do anything, right?
Because that same line could be said in so many different ways.
Exactly.
In so many different situations. That's very interesting. Actually, as a viewer, I watch a lot of movies, I see a lot of movies, and the first thing we want as people who are watching movies is that you don't want the actor to overact. You want them to be natural.
Well, of course, you don't want to ever catch anybody acting. And so what I teach is not to act, right? Acting means no acting.
Then there's this voice modulation, delivery, but those are more important in stage work, or is it also important in
It really
movies?
is. Diction and enunciation, that's a big pet peeve of mine. When kids come and they just want to be on television and movies, they think it doesn't matter, so they don't have to be loud because the mic and the camera will pick that up for them, but they have to have good speech, and that's a big pet peeve of mine. Kids these days have very poor speaking skills, and they mumble and trail off at the end of words, and it has to be a natural speech. But we still want to make sure that they're understood and they're also speaking properly.
Yeah, I find that children these days are spending too much time with their electronic gadgets. And even in school, they don't speak much. I mean, they don't talk much except with their friends. And I do find that they don't even speak in full sentences,
That's right.
Grammatically correct sentences.
Well, they speak in slang and they speak in text language, and
So this is a good advice that you would give parents and children before they think about profession in acting.
It takes
career in acting.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I find and have found over the years that most of these kids will not transition into working actors as adults. They just won't. There's not enough work out there for them, and there's not enough money to be made. However, the training is invaluable because the speech skills that they get and the confidence that they gain will take them on to be successful in whatever career they choose.
So right off, you're saying that not everybody can make it big. So be prepared for a very low-paying whatever career,
and a lot of rejection,
for the most part,
and a lot of rejection. And most of what an actor does is they audition. They audition and they try to get parts
constantly
more than they're working.
I see.
Right? And one of my clients was on a hit television show for a while, and for many, many seasons. And the show ended.
Yeah.
And she didn't work for a while until the next big show came, and there was a dry spell of many, many years in there. So what do you do then? And so class and community theater, any sort of training and experience that you can get, you do, because if you play an instrument and you don't pick it up for a while, it gets rusty. And the same thing happens in acting.
And I have found that now more and more actors are there, male and female, that don't have the best looks, but they have such wonderful dialogue delivery, and they have such good presence, on-screen presence, that they become really successful and they have good character jobs, right?
Well, yeah, it isn't,
so some people
we're not just
think
looking
just
for
their looks
pretty
will get,
actors
yes.
anymore, right? I mean, anymore, ever. We want really interesting actors, and actors of all shapes and sizes and looks, and it's a winning look, okay? And that could mean anything. You could be really funny looking, and that's going to work for you. The camera doesn't love everybody. I had more of a stage career than a film career, but back then I didn't really train to be a film actor. These days, even in the college theater programs, film training is a really big part.
Yes, they have degrees
of that. Yeah.
I know a friend of mine has a son who graduated under one of those programs. He writes scripts and he produces.
But it's a big part of theater training now, television and film, whereas it wasn't when I went to school.
Talking about the film or the acting industry, when parents have all these aspirations for their children and the children themselves have these aspirations, how would you steer them away from frauds and scams that they can get caught up in?
That's a great topic and a great question that comes up all the time. And I know even locally here in the mall, for a while there were people stopping kids in the mall and parents saying, "Oh, you have a great look." And that's all they need to hear, and they have them right in the palm of their hand. Yes. Sign up here, pay me a few $1,000s, and you're all set. So the first rule of thumb is...
And they will get you a portfolio.
That's right. The first rule of thumb is do not pay anybody anything. So if somebody's asking you for money and telling you they're going to make you a star, that is,
That is a red flag.
That's a red flag right there. Right? Nobody's making anybody a star. It doesn't work that way.
So what does an actor's resume look like? I mean, if they want that profession, they want a job, do they have to have a resume like everyone else?
No, kids don't, right? Because they're kids, and if they're looking for a 7-year-old, they can't expect that the 7-year-old has done anything. It all really depends on what the job is. We can talk about Broadway because many of my kids are on Broadway, have been over the years and are right now, and auditioning for a Broadway show is grueling. It's many, many times coming back for the audition and the callback and the other callback and 5, 6, 7 times coming in that room.
That's where you said it becomes difficult if parents have to keep taking their children back and forth.
Well,
or even young adults have to travel that.
That's part of it. I mean, it really involves and affects the entire family when you make this decision to enter the professional world of show business. Yes. It involves the entire family because, yes, you're auditioning. Most of the auditions are supposed to take place after school. However, they don't all take place after school. And if you have to be in the city by 3 or 3:30, you're having to pull your child out of school early to get them there, and then come back the next day for a callback audition, and then the next week. And so that's part of it, that they're missing possibly some school there. But then let's talk about if they actually get the part. Yes, they are schooled on set, and
so they will have to make some compromises with their learning and education.
They do.
Then
because
they get
even
their private lessons, and they're having their tutors teaching them.
They're schooled on set, but only for a short period of time if they're in a theatrical production, only for the rehearsal period. And they've got to go back to school, and they've got to go to school all day and be back in New York for their show at night. Then they have a Wednesday matinee where they have to miss school that day. Then they have rehearsals during some other days. It's just not what people think it is. So it's a lot of hours rehearsing, the hours put in.
And the whole family's involvement.
And the family's involved, especially if a child is going to go on the road, and there are national tours and that go on the road and travel. And if you have other children at home, parents have to decide what to do with their other children. And a lot of times I see a parent will take a child on the road, and the other spouse that is home is the one caring for the other child, and they're having to do the laundry and cook, and then their marriage is, sometimes that can be a little tricky, how to maintain and keep a healthy marriage going.
So it's not all glamorous as people think it is.
It's really not glamorous at all. What's the glamour? The glamour, what they see is signing autographs back, after.
And getting all dressed up for the
parties.
Big parties,
right?
yes.
And there is some fun, and of course, opening night parties
and the media
are fun.
Pictures.
Right.
And they think that it look like that all the time.
Right.
Which is not true either, right?
No.
Without their makeup and without their clothes. They're going to be...
It's a business, and for a child entering it, a child is entering a business, and they are expected to be a child on top of it. So they need to go to school on top of working in an industry.
Yes.
And so they have to be a special kind of child to really be able to be successful, because they've got to, be diligent and be able to keep and disciplined and stay healthy, so that they can go to school, keep up with their studies, and rehearse and work on set and still have a social life.
We only have 3 minutes left, so we'll just quickly touch upon a couple of things, and then we'll continue with our conversation for next week's show. I think in the next show I do want to ask a little bit more about the scams and the frauds and the book that you're trying to write based on that. And also what exactly a person should be doing in order to make their dreams come true if they are really serious about getting in this business, right? So as far as the resume goes, nothing. But for older persons, do they still have to have a resume? What kind of portfolio? Like, what is needed in this business? And do they have to have a manager?
Right, so you need a good headshot. That is your calling card. It is your business card. You need a fabulous picture that looks like you on a great day, and a resume of your experience and your training and your special skills. It is not necessary to have an agent or a manager in the beginning of a career. If you're going out for theater, especially for a child, there are open calls for things that you can learn about in the newspaper.
And then there are standard contracts, so you don't need a manager for the parents.
Right, but in order
sign.
to really start to get a lot of auditions, you do need an agent or a manager, and we can discuss next week the difference between them, which is a question that comes up quite a bit.
I know. Also, I myself have seen some groups in the malls where they're standing there saying, hey, we'll get a portfolio together for you. And a lot of times they say, you can just model clothes for department stores and such. So where's the distinction between that and the acting?
Well, the modeling world is a whole separate business. So there are no unions that govern modeling agencies, and so the scams, we find most of the scams are in the modeling world, much more prevalent.
Oh, thank you very much, Denise. It's been a very interesting conversation with you, and I hope we can have a more in-depth talk on some of the topics that we said that we will cover in the next show.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Usha, for having me.
Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, and also be sure to tune in again next week to know more about how to enter this business and how to be prepared for it. And maybe you can make your children's dreams come true. Until next time, goodbye.